Sea stars are able to regenerate. Regenerate means that when they lose a body part, they can regrow it. So this is something that we see generally in animals that are less biologically complex. They're able to regrow a missing structure. You can see from this image that that's a sea star that has lost one of its rays, and it is in the process of regrowing a new ray. However, there are exceptions to this. The sea star wasting syndrome. This is something that cropped up a few years ago that we're going to take a look at.
Something strange is happening in Seattle's waters. Laura James was one of the first to notice. She alerted scientists when starfish began washing up on the shores near her home.
And I thought, you know what? This is getting a little too close for comfort. I need to go see what's going on, and I need to document it.
As a diver and underwater videographer, James was equipped to do something. She decided to take her camera to a spot popular among both divers and starfish. These pilings are usually covered with a rainbow of starfish. On a recent dive, James discovered a scene from a horror film.
There were bodies everywhere, and they were just like these splats. To me, it always looked like someone had taken a laser gun and just zapped them, and they were just vaporized.
Starfish, also known as sea stars, are wasting away by the tens of thousands. Not just in Puget Sound, but up and down North America's Pacific coast. And nobody knows why.
I've been diving out here for almost 24 years, and people always ask me, do you see any big difference between, now and when you started? And I've seen some subtle differences, but this is the change of my lifetime. We've had small occasional die-offs here and there, but it's not like this. It's not a mass mortality event. I'm just a diver. I need to find out what the scientists know.
But scientists have also been wondering what's going on. They first started noticing sick and dying starfish on Washington's Olympic Peninsula last summer. Reports have since surfaced from Southern California to as far north as Alaska. At first, only a certain species, known as the sunflower star, seemed to be affected. Then it hit another species. Then another. In all, about a dozen species of sea stars are dying along the west coast. It's been coined sea star wasting syndrome, and it's also been reported at sites along the east coast. But researchers say it's too early to connect these outbreaks.
I was surprised too that the crabs weren't just...
Ben Miner is a biology professor at Western Washington University. He studies how environmental changes affect marine life. Today, his team is collecting sea stars at Mukilteo, Washington, just north of Seattle.
The population of sea stars is they're quite abundant at that site, and so on the pilings there were healthy sea stars, but we were also coming across arms and piles of deteriorated sea stars and individuals that were twisted.
The divers are searching for stars showing symptoms, as well as the ones that appear healthy.
The experiments are infectiousness experiments, where we take individuals that have signs of the syndrome and we put them in tanks with individuals that don't have signs.
Then they closely watch the progress of the disease. First, the stars twist their arms into knots, and sometimes lesions form on their skin.
One of them was very sick, and the other two individuals started ripping themselves apart. The arms just crawl away from the particular body.
You heard that right. The arms crawl in opposite directions until they tear away from the body and their insides spill out. And unlike most starfish, the arms don't regenerate. Stars that came in with symptoms died within 24 hours.
Interestingly, though, I didn't see the individuals that were exposed to those dying individuals show symptoms any more rapidly than individuals in the other tanks.
So being in the same tank with a dying starfish doesn't seem to accelerate the disease. Divers recently returned to Mukilteo to find that most of the starfish there have died, but we still don't know how they're catching the illness, or where it comes from. Could an infectious pathogen from the other side of the world have hitched a ride on ocean-going ships, or could it be something larger, like climate change or ocean acidification?
This is a healthy Pycnopodia. No signs of lesions.
Drew Harvell is coordinating the research into answering those questions. She's a marine epidemiologist from Cornell University who is studying at the University of Washington's Friday Harbor Labs in the San Juan Islands. Harvell is sending these samples to Cornell. There they will be analyzed for viruses as well as bacteria and other protozoa. The first step, she says, is to figure out the distinct characteristics that identify the disease.
We know that organisms get sick, they get bacteria, they get viruses, just like humans do. They get the cold and the sniffles. But it's a lot harder to see it happening when they're under the ocean.
Scientists worry that the loss of sea stars could have far-reaching ecological consequences. That's because they're voracious predators. They gobble up mussels, clams, sea cucumbers, and even other starfish.
Because these are ecologically important species. When you lose this many sea stars, it will certainly change the seascape.
They certainly suggest that those ecosystems are not healthy. To have diseases that can affect that many species, that widespread is I think, just scary.
If there's a silver lining, it may be that studying this outbreak could shed light on how marine diseases spread.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
That's a question Laura James is hoping citizen scientists can help answer.
The big problem we had here is that we didn't have a baseline. The starfish got sick when we noticed. Wouldn't it be cool if we could show this in real time and show the spread and the changes in real time?
James and her dive buddy built a website for tracking posts to social media sites with the hashtag #SickStarfish.
Take a picture of any starfish you find when you're out tide pooling or just walking on the beach and hashtag it #SickStarfish. And then we can look at it when it pops up on the map, or if we're not sure, we can send it off to the scientists and they can take a look at it. We may not be able to stop it, or we may not be able to fix it, but we need to be aware so that we can recognize it when it happens again.
All this research may be paying off. Scientists think they're honing in on the cause and hope to make an announcement in a few months.
All right, so that is certainly of concern. One of the things that we want to look at is impacts of man on animals as well as animals on man, how we interlink. Scientists now link sea starfish die-off to warming oceans. Wasting syndrome was originally linked to a virus. Resulted in rapid disease spread, high death rates, and wasting that continued in survivors in 2015. So what appears to be happening is this virus that spreads is made worse because of the warming ocean. That stresses these sea stars out, and it makes it more likely that they catch infections. So the heat added because of potentially human-caused climate warming, changes in ocean temperature and sea surface temperatures, warming at the surface of the ocean, being on the rise, that leads the potential that there could be more things causing trouble for our aquatic environments and aquatic animals. This was studied for a while, and there's some links I'll post that you can check out if you want to read more about sea star wasting syndrome. It was thought that it might be linked to potentially a fungal attack, bacterial attack. This seems to be the most likely culprit. All right, so some review of sea star parts. A, those are spines. B, on either side of that groove are the tube feet, and then down the middle is the ambulacral groove. So underneath the madreporites, now we're going to look at some internal anatomy. Underneath the madreporite is a tube that is called the stone canal. And the stone canal is just a little tube connection that goes from the madreporite on the surface down to this ring. And All of these connected parts that water is moving through are called the water vascular system. Closed water canals, that water pressure is used to make the tube feet expand and move and suction. The stone canal is connected to the madreporite, and it goes to the ring canal, the one that branches or goes out through the center part of the body, and then branches out into radial canals that run down the length of each arm or ray. You're not actually seeing the water vascular system in this picture. This is a dissected sea star, and what you're seeing is those bony plates, the calcium carbonate plates that make up the inside. They almost look like spines running through here. And there is a series of plates that kind of follow along where each of the parts of the water vascular system are. So even though you can't see it, the stone canal is this little tube here, but the ring canal is kind of highlighted by the bones that are right where it is, and then the radial canals are highlighted by the bones that run down each arm. And the bones that run down each arm are in what's called the ambulacral ridge. So the groove is what you see on the oral surface underneath the sea star, and the ambulacral ridge is the inside of that if you see when you've dissected the star. There's also ampullae. These are little bulbs. They look kind of like little balloons, water balloons, that fill up on either side of the ridge, and that's what pushes the water into the tube feet. So the radial canal is inside the ambulacral ridge, and that is just a series of bony plates connected together, and on either side of that are the ampulla, or ampullae. An ampulla is at the top of each tube foot. They act like water balloons, so the water balloon contracts, it kind of squishes out and pushes the water into the tube foot, or it expands, and when it expands it pulls the water out of the tube foot. So you can see them down here at the bottom. This part squishes and the water pushes out into the tube foot extends. Or this part expands, gets bigger, and when it does, the water gets pulled back up and the tube foot retracts. The digestive system of the sea star, they have two stomachs. So the cardiac stomach is what connects to the mouth, and it's actually extruded out of the mouth so they can eat things that are larger than the opening of their mouth. So you can see it kind of bubbling up here in this picture. So they capture their prey, and then they will push their stomach out in the process of eversion or evisceration, which is the same name we use to describe the sea cucumber pushing out its guts, basically. It just means, evisceration means pushing your guts out of your body. Eversion means turning inside out. The everted stomach is turned inside out. It exposes the digestive enzymes to the prey. The food is then liquefied by those enzymes and then pulled back in through the stomach lining into the body. Here is a little video highlighting the stomach getting pulled in, getting pushed out, getting pulled in, pushed out. So you can see this sea star is pushing its stomach out to clear algae off of the glass. The pyloric stomach is located between the cardiac stomach and the anus. The anus is on the aboral surface, so waste comes out of the top of the sea star, and that connects to the digestive glands. It's called the pyloric stomach, and the digestive glands are actually called pyloric ceca. There is no intestine. They have digestive glands that push digestive material or digestive enzymes into the stomach, and those are the green frilly things, the digestive glands. And those pyloric ceca attach to the pyloric stomach. They break down the food and help absorb it. Two sets of them are found in each arm, so if you were dissecting and you cut the top of the arm off, you would see two branched frilly structures at the top part of each arm. There's a picture of one on the right. Sea stars are carnivores. They eat mollusks and other slow-moving animals, and they do that by attaching to the shell, pushing their stomach through any opening they can make in the shell, and then digesting the soft body parts inside of the bivalve in this picture, and then they suction that back into the stomach and are able to distribute that food throughout their bodies.